Hello and welcome to Defense India podcast. And before we start this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel.
Hello and welcome to Defense India podcast, the podcast where we discuss matters related to India's internal security. And joining me on the podcast, as always, is Vicky Najapa. Vicky, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Akash. Thank you so much.
So, Vicky, the elections in Jammu and Kashmir, we discussed extensively on the podcast when the dates were announced. We asked that was it a good time to hold elections in Jammu and Kashmir? Looking at the at that point of time, what the security and the infiltration was there in Jammu, and now that the elections have been conducted peacefully, the results are out. So now the National Conference, in alliance with the Congress Party, will be making the government in Jammu and Kashmir. So first question arises, and I think my first question was actually asked by Assuddin Owaisi, to be very honest. He asked that would Omar Abdullah be a weak chief minister for Jammu and Kashmir? It's not a state actually; it's a union territory right now. Though they are saying that they want a statehood back from the central government, which was taken away after the abrogation of Article 370. So the question arises: what kind of a chief minister Omar Abdullah will be?
At the moment, he's making all the right noises. I mean, he has said that, there was a decision which was actually critiqued by some when, it was decided that the Lieutenant Governor can nominate 5 persons to the assembly. So, and there were doubts that, if all 5 are from the BJP, then the BJP's strength would go up and the House strength also would go up. Okay, so that being one thing, but he has, said that it's a wrong move, one. But otherwise, he's currently making the right noises. And when he says that, he requires a lot of cooperation from the center, and both the center and the government in Jammu Kashmir should be on the same page. Actually, it makes a lot of sense because it is very, very important, that there are no clashes between the two governments because, there may be a lot of peace that has been restored, but situation is always fragile in Jammu Kashmir, considering the interference from Pakistan and certain elements out there. So far so good. He needs to ensure that, okay, terrorism is something, that, I wouldn't say that, it'll come to a complete halt because, as long as Pakistan exists, there will be terror in Jammu Kashmir. That is one. And secondly, one thing, he has to be very, very careful in ensuring that separatism does not rise there because, that's, equally as dangerous as terrorism or, even more. So that kind of mindset should not, and he has to be, very, very cooperative with the central forces and, have good control over the state forces and not allow, the return of the stone pelting on after the Friday prayers and all of that. So he's got a task cut out. I think as of now, if you look at it, he's likely to do a good job, but again, time will tell.
Exactly. The time will tell that what kind of a job Omar Abdullah is going to do in Jammu and Kashmir. But relatively, we saw that as the elections were approaching in Jammu and Kashmir, there was an uprising in the terror activities, the cross-border infiltration. But now suddenly, when the results have come in, there is a kind of not a steep, but I will say there is a bit of decline in terms of cross-border infiltration. But as Omar Abdullah will take charge, and you say that he's making all the right noises, but yes, only time will tell what lies ahead for Jammu and Kashmir as a state when it comes to security forces, and how would army, treat this new government?
I think, they will function independently because the army will be under the control of the center. Right. So, and that has always been the case in Jammu Kashmir. And it is now for Omar Abdullah to ensure that perfect liaising which was there taking place between the local police and the Indian army. He should not break that chain because that is very, very important because whatever said and done, how big the force is, it is the local police which has all the ground intel on them, and that is very important for any security agency for it to function. So he has to ensure that there's a smooth liaising between the state forces, which will be under the government, or until it remains a union territory. So there should not be any interference on that front. There is no scope for appeasement, and because appeasement is what is going to lead to the rise of separatism once again, which has been very successfully tackled by our central agencies out there. So these are things he has to be a little careful on, and leave the security related issues to the center, and focus more on the economy and job creation within the state.
Exactly. So you believe, but the kind of noises that Omar Abdullah was initially making before the elections happened and everything. So like it looked like that he was ready to maybe take on with the government on the issues like statehood and the application of Article 370. Do you think that there could be a hard-pressed, maybe a protest or something like that by the government in order to restore Article 370? Though Omar Abdullah has said that it would be foolish to ask a BJP government in the center to, restore Article 370.
I think when it comes to Article 370, I think it's a pretty much done deal, Akash. I don't think, even if there's a change of government in the center also, I don't think, they would, want to bring back Article 370, because it'd be very foolish to do that now. Because, if you take the feedback from the ground in Jammu Kashmir and things, people were actually more upset, not about Article 370, they were more upset that, statehood was taken away from Jammu Kashmir. And I think in that respect, all parties, including the BJP, are on the statehood, on the same page where statehood is concerned. And I think it will be eventually restored. But it cannot be done something like overnight or something. The situation has to be analyzed. It may take a couple of months or a year for that to happen. But I think that would be one of the flashpoints between the center and the J&K government. It would be over statehood. And although BJP is not opposing restoration of statehood, but again, it depends on how much time it may take to take such a decision.
But yeah, Vicky, that is one thing. But what in terms of security of the state? So like once it becomes a state back, then law and order are the part of the state government. So then doesn't it again becomes another flashpoint between the central forces and the government over there in terms of how will it deal with these infiltrations, separatists, and all those other things?
See, it can become a flashpoint, but it doesn't necessarily have to be also a flashpoint, because there are many states, which have cooperated with the center when it comes to, the issue of security. And I think, if at all, once statehood is restored and then it comes under the state government, and then, to, create a flashpoint with the center just for the sake of politics or just for the sake of it, is only going to be counterproductive to that, to Jammu Kashmir only. It is not going to affect anyone other than the people of Jammu Kashmir. So I think, we'll have to tread very, very carefully after that, get the priorities, because now with the 370 gone, Jammu Kashmir is open to investments from outside. He'll have to liaise that better, make sure that, the local interests are protected, as well as, the business interests are also protected, because they will have to, expand more than just tourism. The other kind of businesses also will have to come in. So, a lot of stake out there. But I think interfering with the security just because you have control over the state police would be, an utter foolish thing.
Right, Vicky, but I just want to get your insight that you must be speaking to a lot of security people who are there in Jammu and Kashmir. What is their outtake of these elections? Are they happy that in National Conference Congress alliance government is there on the ground, or would they have been happy that probably a previous PDP BJP kind of a government would have been much more better for the state.
They do not comment so much about a party in question, whether it is BJP, NC, or Congress or PDP and things like that. What they only feel is that trust me that there's nobody happier than the Indian Army if there is a proper functioning government in one particular state, so that it looks properly democratic in nature at that time. So
Right.
all they would want is no state government to interfere with the law and order mechanism, and allow that seamless liaising which has been there for the past couple of years between the state police and the Indian Army. They wouldn't want any interference in that, because if the state police decides to play hanky panky, it does not give out correct intelligence, because trust me, they have much better intelligence than the central agencies or the intelligence bureau or even the research and analysis big when it comes to the state. And they will know where which terrorist is hiding where and who's protecting them. Suppose they decide to play hanky panky, then it will only result in loss of lives not only of people but also of security forces, because you must have seen that incident yesterday. Two army men were
Yeah.
abducted by terrorists, right? So you wouldn't want things like that to keep happening. And if state police does not cooperate, then going is very tough when it comes to security out there.
Right, and as you pointed out, the kind of the modus operandi now the terrorists have taken up, so like kidnapping armed forces personnel, and then luckily one of them escaped, another one was sadly killed in this abduction. So now is that the threat is now on the armed forces that these kind of things can happen to them also?
No, these kind of things have happened in the past also, Akash. It's not only once, in the 3 to 4
Yeah.
times at least. If I can recall on the tip of my fingers, I think it has happened in the past also. But that is not because an election took place or anything. It would have eventually happened, because these kind of things keep happening, and even the armed forces are very well aware that it is a very tough battle to fight. It's it's all about minimizing the losses to the to the maximum, basically, at the end of it. So that way, if you look at it, these kind of hits and misses will keep happening, but it can always be better. And if this democratically, this government is serious about the law and order situation, then they will have to go all out and cooperate with our security forces.
Exactly, that's absolutely correct, Vicky. And one more thing. So, like, of course, we saw that in the previous government of the PDP BJP alliance, there were these kind of stone pelting incidents taking place every Friday after the prayers and everything. And of course, it would be very tough for a national conference government to maybe upcheck it, because after the abrogation of Article 370, Army had a very iron hand over Kashmir. But now, as the government is there, can we see a little bit of surge? Though you said that it would be, for time will tell. But do you feel that there might be some kind of a thing, that a truce between these radical elements and the government taking place? That's why they got so much amount of votes, and that is one thing that they wanted to restart.
No, I don't think he would this one, what is that, encourage separatism, because that is a a sure case recipe for disaster after that. And I don't see separatism returning to Jammu Kashmir anytime soon, because the pressure is so much, because all the separatists are under the control, or under the radar of the Enforcement Directorate or the CBI or the NIA and things like that. And if you've seen that, the number of terror funding cases that have been, booked over the past couple of years. Ultimately, the fund squeeze is what the central agencies managed to achieve, and that marked the end of separatism. And I think a lot of people in Jammu Kashmir are also, fed up with, this kind of stone pelting, this kind of violence, and the security men being all over the place at all times. I know you can't lead your life normally. But trust me, the one thing is that the people of Jammu Kashmir were definitely very happy that an election was held, because all these days, in the absence of any elected representative, they were finding it difficult to, voice in their grievances. That is one thing. Now with the MLAs in place, they feel that they have a window to go express their grievances, so that it is taken up and there is some resolution. I think you will see this happening more rather than seeing the return of violence or separatism like what it used to be before the abrogation of 370.
Absolutely, Vicky. So let's wait and watch what kind of situation unfolds in Jammu and Kashmir, and very soon Omar Abdullah will take the oath of CMship. So we'll see that what his first 100 days look like after he takes charge of the CM's office. Well, that's all the time we have here on the Defense India podcast. Thank you very much, Vicky, for joining.
Thank you, Akash.